Welcome to our unit on equations. This is our kind of first lesson, our introductory lesson. We're going to start with two vocabulary terms. An expression, you'll remember that from earlier in the year. We did things like distributive property and combining like terms and that kind of stuff. You did some work last week with putting variable numbers in place of variables. But an expression is just a combination of numbers and operations, and it might contain a variable. So 2x plus 8 or 4y plus 17 minus 2w. So some combination of numbers, operations, so add, subtract, multiply, divide, and it oftentimes will have a variable of some kind in there. Here's how equations are different. Equations are expressions that are equal to each other. There's an equal sign to it. That's the whole key behind an equation, is that there's an equal sign, meaning the two sides have to be equal to. So here we have the expression 5 plus x. We also have the expression 13, and they happen to be equal to each other. So that's the difference between an expression and an equation. So when you replace a variable with a value that makes it a true sentence, so when we plug in something in place of x to make this true, you solve the equation. The value for the variable, so the number we would put in here place for x that would make it true, is called the solution. So my guess is most of us can figure this one out pretty easily. 2 plus what gives me 9? Well, 2 plus 7 equals 9. So x is equal to 7. The solution to this equation is 7. So in a problem like this, if I say, is 3, 4, or 5 the solution of the equation? What it really just means is try each of them, see which one works. So I put in 3 in place of a. So 3 plus 7. Is 3 plus 7 equal to 11? Well, no. 3 plus 7 is equal to 10, which is not equal to 11. So I plug in a 4. 4 plus 7, is that equal to 11? Well, 4 plus 7 is 11. I want both sides of my equal sign to be equal or equivalent to each other. So here I plug in a 5. 5 plus 7, is that equal to 11? Well, 5 plus 7 is 12. Is that equal to 11? No. So the solution to our equation would be 4, the number that I could plug in place of the variable to make a true statement. I want both sides of that equal sign equal. All right, next part, we've got a little writing to do, so go ahead and get your page set up if you need to. A lot of these words are going to be very similar or be familiar from our expressions unit, but they're just going to be a quick review for us. So for addition, we have terms like more than, sum, plus, increased by. For subtraction, we have minus, decreased by, difference, and then remember that tricky one, less than. Remember, less than is the time where we're going to flip-flop the order of the terms in that part of the problem. And remember, feel free to pause as you need to. Don't feel like you got to rush and try to keep up with me as you write these down. For multiply, we have product, times, doubled, twice, multiplied by. And then for divide, we have quotient, divided by, and half. Now, those are all ones that are pretty straightforward for us. Remember, half is really code for divide, but it's specifically divide by 2. But the extra piece we're going to add in there is now there's going to be a way to know where the equal sign goes in our problem. And we look for the word is. So wherever the word is falls, that's where the equal sign goes in the problem. So we can kind of tell one side of the equation from the other. All right, pause if you need to, get that written down, and then we'll keep going with our examples. All right, so the key is look for some of those keywords. So quotient, if you look at your chart, remember quotient means to divide. So 3 and y are going to be divided. Is 17. Remember, is where the equal sign goes. So equals 17. Here, the product of 8 and k is 40. Product means to multiply. Remember, when we're multiplying a number and a variable, we're just going to write them right next to each other. Is 40 equals 40. 15 is, well, that's our equal sign. So this time 15 is going to be by itself on one side of the equal sign. and then 7 less than a number. So less than means to subtract, but remember it also means we're going to flip-flop the order of these pieces. And then remember from our expressions unit, when it says something like a number, that doesn't mean you pick a number. It means it stands in place of some number we don't know, so we use a variable to represent it. So we want to subtract 7 and w, but less than says flip them around. So w minus 7. Here we have the sum of a number and 9 is 32. So the sum means we want to add. A number means we don't know what it is. So let's plug in a variable. So I get y plus 9 is equals 32. Oh, don't know why it's sliding on me there. Sorry about that. It's a really ugly 32. And then our last one, 22 is, so 22 equals 4 more than means to add. So 4 plus 3 times a number. Remember, for a number, since we don't know what that number is, we just put in a variable, w. 3 times w. Remember, when a number and a variable are being multiplied, we just write them right next to each other. And that's our quick introduction to equations. The whole idea is now we have that equal sign in there, so we have 2 sides to the equation, and we just want to make sure we figure out what number goes in place of that variable in order to make it a true statement.